Hello, gay men. Welcome to the Coming Inside Out podcast. I am your host, Mark Dembo. My co-host, Brian Janes, is not with me today, but I do promise everybody we are going to be back very soon, next week, with brand new episodes of the podcast. We've definitely been on hiatus for the past few weeks because sometimes life gets in the way. Been a very busy time for both Brian and myself. However, we really are excited to be getting back to bringing you guys some new episodes. Thanks to so many of you who have written in with ideas for topics and questions. We want to address some of those. We're working on lining up some new guests. But in the meantime, I'm really excited to share a podcast episode that I was just recently a guest on. Many of you may also listen to Rick Clemons' podcast called 40 Plus Gay Men, Gay Talk. I've gotten to know Rick a bit over the past couple of years, and I'm an avid listener of his podcast. And when he asked me to come on and share a bit about my journey, I was really excited to do that. So we're going to share that episode with you today. And we cover a lot of ground in that podcast. We talk about what's it like coming out and redefining your relationships with your family, with your friends, in the professional world. We talk about the guilt that so many of us have felt, and how do you find that grace in your new life and working through the chaos. We talk about being real versus performative in our lives, and why it's never too late to start being honest with yourself. You know, it's absolutely never too late. So with that, hope you enjoy that episode, and we will be back with some brand new stuff very, very soon.
My career sucks.
Sex just isn't the same.
What's my purpose?
Where did this fat come from?
My relationship is killing me.
I'll never be happy.
My debt is piling up. I'll never find love. Why can't I be like other gay guys? Hey guys, it's time to get a grip, stop whining, make a bold move, and do something amazing with your 40-plus gay life. Let's get to the show with your Tell It Like It Is host, Rick Clemons, who does his best to never act like a dick or a diva unless you act like one first.
Well, it's time for another episode of 40 Plus Gay Men, Gay Talk. And today I have to tell you, it's been a while since I've gone back to the roots of coming out. And I have known today's guest probably a little over a year, maybe a little bit longer. And when we had these conversations early on about his journey, it was really touching to me to go, oh, here's another guy that I know is just yearning and trying to figure it out and wanting to do it in a right way and trying to figure out all those pieces to, like, he knows it's not going to be perfect, but he's going to give it his best damn shot to make sure it works the way it is. And we're a good ways down the road now. He's got his own podcast, which we'll talk about. But what I wanted to share with all of you who are listening, yes, some of you are like, I don't need to listen to a coming out journey. I'm going to invite you to tune in, because there's some things that I feel like you're going to go, oh, I never thought about that. Or, oh, that makes sense. And especially you guys that may be in the midst of this whole thing. My guest, Mark Dembo, and I have both come out later in life, and him a little bit later than I did, but it involved family, children, wives, work, all of that stuff. And that's where we're going to take this really just honest, insightful, probably vulnerable conversation today. And Mark, you know already from the bottom of my heart, I'm really happy you're here. And I'm really happy where you are personally too. I mean, I know it was a year and a half ago, probably, at least, when we first had our
probably about, I would say, about a year and a half ago. And I'm really thrilled and honored to be here and share my journey with you and all the listeners.
You know, you said this before we came on. I remember that first call really specifically. I mean, every time I see a Facebook post or something, and I always go back, like, you know, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of like, hey, Rick, I'm not sure. You were out somewhere where you could have the conversation and not be caught up. And, you know, I'm going to assume so much has changed. Like, you probably feel much freer to just talk about who you are and all that sort of stuff. So
completely.
We're going to start like kind of present day. If you could describe like some feelings you experience right now, what are some of the greatest and still most, oh, I didn't expect that, some feelings that show up for you in your present life as an out gay man?
Yeah. There's so much to that, Rick. I think so much of it, the best way I can probably describe it,
Mm-hmm.
and this unfolds, I'd say every day in so many different ways. All the years of my life that I was not out,
Mm-hmm.
denying to myself who I was
Yes.
and being hidden, I didn't realize how much energy in my life I was spending hiding who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And that continues. I mean, from the moment I woke up one day and I literally looked myself in the mirror and said, dude, you are gay, own it.
Yep.
It was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders that I didn't even know I was carrying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And through the journey, there's been other weight that's been put back on, dealing with family, my wife. What do I do now? Am I going to go and live this double life? But where I am today, and I was saying to you before we came on, I look at my life today and go back to when you and I first talked year and a half ago. I was still living at home. I was out to my wife, but we were
Yes.
still trying to figure out what we were going to do.
Right.
I had to go somewhere and find a place where I could talk to you in private.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I'm sure I was crying. I was confused. I was scared.
Yep.
And now, I'm not going to say that there aren't moments where I wake up sometimes. I'm like, what the fuck did I do to my life?
Exactly.
I mean, there are definitely those moments, or there's this surrealness of like, is this my life now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
there's a interesting freedom. Like, okay, the freedom feels really great, and then there's
yeah,
also like, oh, so it's okay for me to do this. You know,
yes,
one of the
yes.
greatest moments, and people who've listened to my podcast know I was a big hoe. I'm just going to be honest. I was a hoe the whole time I was in the closet, and then suddenly when I came out, I'm like, oh, I don't have to be a hoe. And it was kind of like, oh, I enjoy. I'm never gonna say I don't enjoy sex. Still do at 60, almost 62 years old. But there was this like, oh, I have permission to do this now. Now what the fuck do I do with this?
Yeah.
Because there was almost, and actually I've done some really deep work in sexual eroticism and everything. And one of the latest experiences I had in training around that was like, there is that piece that for some people, the thrill of the hiding is the charge of the sexual
Yes.
enjoyment.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And so starting to unpack those things, I think that was one of the biggest things for me, Mark, was when I started to unravel like, oh, okay, wow, sex was good, but man, sex was really good when I was like, oh, sneak around, get it off real quick. Sometimes not get it off real quick. There was a few times it's like, oh, this was fucking amazing. Shit, I gotta go home now. But I can tell just in the little bit you and I have been able to interact over the past few months, I've noticed a peace in your demeanor, a
Yeah.
peace of mind, your facial
Oh my
expressions,
God.
all of that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. In fact, I earlier today, I was on the phone with a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about, kind of just our lives and where we're at. And he's been going through a tough time. He's in the middle of actually getting divorced from his husband.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually interesting. This is a guy who I went to high school with. He
Wow.
was openly gay back then, and we were friends, but then kind of lost contact. And then it's been wonderful, like kind of since coming out, like reconnecting with
Mm-hmm.
these people. But um, we were talking about that, and we were talking about just everything going on in the world right now, right?
Yep.
A lot of uh you know, a lot of uncertainty, a
Yep.
lot of scary things going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I said to him, yeah, sure, that affects me. And, in work wise, there's a lot of stress with everything going on, but there is a peace that I feel
Mm-hmm.
that enables me to get through every day, and more than just get through the day, but to say there's a peace, there's a serenity, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
that didn't exist before, that just allows me to deal with other stresses. It doesn't
Yeah.
make everything else go away. It's not like, oh my God, I came out and now life's
Right.
perfect. No,
No.
that's not the case.
Mm.
But I'm being who I am. I'm me. I'm not trying to be some version of me that isn't
Mm-hmm.
authentic.
One of my
And that
clients
makes a huge
recently
difference.
said it does make a huge difference because there's this shift. Like there's almost like this openness that like, oh, I can be this. And what I saw, and I've seen this numerous times through my work, is when that openness shows up in this part of life, it starts to show up in other parts of life too.
Oh
One of my
yeah.
most recent clients said, the juicy sensuality of authenticity is what I feel more. And I'm like, okay, that's a mouthful, but I get it. I get
Yeah.
it because it is a really, it is a juiciness. There's something just so tantalizing in a soulful flavor way of, oh, yes, to feel that, to taste that, to breathe that, to be it. It's not every day. I'm going to be honest. I've been out now, gosh, 1999. So 30 some odd years later, something like that. And there's moments, especially given the current situation in so many
Sure.
spaces right now, but I don't regret it. I'm much more cognizant of, how I want to show up in the world. I know I'm fully exposed. There's nothing hiding me, right? I do this podcast. I've got books out there. I'm not a, it is what it is at this point, right?
Absolutely.
Nor would I go hide. That's the other
Right.
piece of it,
Right.
We went
And
to the No Kings rally, and I had a sign that says, my queer crown trumps his fear crown any day of the week. And it was pretty bold to say something like that. I thought it'd get more reaction. My husband had a better one. He goes, we live in wine country. He goes, in SLO, we drink wine, not Kool-Aid. I'm like, okay, bitch, you won up to me with that one. That was pretty damn good. But it is an interesting thing because I never used to quote. I kind of went through a phase, Mark, where like I came out. I was probably much more out than my husband was when we first met. Not that he was hiding, because he'd been out since he was 20 something. But I was like, hey, honey, or I'd touch him in a store, and not that he pulled back, but I could tell that was new for him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now in this day and age, I think most people are like, I'm going to be who I am. But I found myself now being a little more, I don't know if cautious is the right word, probably aware. Like my awareness level of what I do in certain spaces, given the crazies that are out there these days, you never know. I'm probably more aware of it, but I also really love it when someone else almost helps it along. There were people at the rally that, like, one guy turned to me and said, I love your sign. And he goes, is that your husband's? And I said, yes. It was just, and I didn't know this guy from anybody. So I think sometimes those are the things that really push us into these spaces of, let's embrace the yum.
Absolutely. Oh, that is so true. And one thing I'll put out there, and I always say this, is like, when I share my story, it's like, look, this is my story, this is my journey. It's not for me to say this is the right way to do things, right? Everybody's got to make their own decisions, what's right for them. Everybody's story is different. But I know for me, when I came out, when I first came out, and when I told my wife and told our family and gradually told friends, I remember saying, I was like, I don't feel the need to go and shout it to the world. I don't need to go post on Facebook, hey, world, I'm gay. Guess what I did 7 months ago? I posted on Facebook and I came out to the world. I posted on LinkedIn and came out to the world.
I remember LinkedIn. I was like, whoa. Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
And you and I hadn't really talked we hadn't really interacted. I'm like, this is interesting, because he went from and I'm like, okay, he's here. He's arrived. Not in a bad way.
No, because you know what part of it was? So much of it was, hey, if I'm going to truly be who I am
Mm-hmm.
and be the best version of myself of who I am,
Right.
because I'm coming out later in life,
Mm-hmm.
I want people to know this is the real me.
This is me. This is my real self.
And
Absolutely.
I've also written a lot about this on LinkedIn, that I have found in my role in the work world as a leader, it makes me a better leader because I'm able to be vulnerable. And um there are times when I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I'm pushing it too far. But then I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care.
Are you a gay guy over 40 and feeling like your confidence is ghosting you? Well, you're not alone. Because whether you're stressing over work, dating, your relationship, or you're afraid you're not rocking your body the way you used to at a pool party, I've got you covered. I'm ready to do some good work with you. I'm Rick Clemons. I'm the gay man's life coach. And here's how I'm going to help you kick ass in your life. Number one, we're going to start working on you ditching that inner critic so that you can own your awesomeness. Number two, we're going to help you stop worrying about what others are thinking. Seriously, it's time to let that go. Finally, we're going to help you show up in every part of your life feeling strong and unstoppable as the awesome gay man that you are. Here's the deal. Confidence is just waiting for you, and you just need to hook up with the right guy to help you along. And I hope I'm that guy for you. I'm going to make this a really sweet deal. You can simply schedule a complimentary Your Next Move coaching session with me today. And we're going to get you moving towards building that confidence or resurrecting that confidence you used to have. All you got to do is go to yournextmovesession.com today to start activating the confidence within. Again, all you got to do is go to yournextmovesession.com and get started with a complimentary coaching session to kick confidence in the booty and get you back on track. And I think the beauty of this is that's what works for you. And I'm so glad you set it up that way.
Exactly. Yes.
Because I'm more than willing to be who I am, but I'm not telling somebody else, here's how you do it. In fact, the interesting thing, Mark, when I started the coaching, what drove me into the coaching was guys like, well, just tell me what to do. And so I'm like, okay, well, here's what I did, and here's what I did, and here's what I did. And then they were like, oh, okay. And as they started saying, oh, okay, I'm like, wait, I'm really being challenged to step into this coaching, but I'm like, I think I need some tools. I think I need some things. And one of the most profound things once I started getting certified as a coach is you don't give advice.
Right.
You help people unearth. And that's kind of what I did with you. We won't go deep into that, but that's kind of what I pushed you to.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to go find your own answer to this.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's what a powerful coach therapist will do, is they will help you go find that. Coaching, obviously, is more about, we're going to push you momentum wise. Like, okay, what do you want to have accomplished right here? And we're always forward momentum, like get these things accomplished. But the key that I've found with every person I've coached, whether it's about coming out or something else, you already have the answer. It's in there. How we excavate it and bring it to the surface for you to own it, hold it, be it, and how it works for you is not going to be for maybe 20,000 guys that might be listening to this. But
absolutely.
There might be 2,000 like, yeah, that's exactly how I would do it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the coming out journey, is how, at least for me, I learned so many things around, oh, now that affects this part of my life. And now, oh, I'm going to start standing up more in team meetings about certain things. I'm going to start having a voice. I'm going to do it in this way because as a leader, so you brought that up, what I know is with my team, if I'm hiding anything, I'm telling them, oh, it's okay to hide. But when I'm fully transparent, and I use that word a lot, almost probably too much, but I will say to my team, I'm going to be really open, transparent, and vulnerable right now. Here's something I noticed. I screwed this up. This is something I realized, ooh, I bet others are screwing this up. I'm going to say, hey, let's all fix this. But now that I've been open and transparent about it, because I was vulnerable enough to say, I fucked up. I screwed up.
That's right.
I'm going to hope that helps you have the permission to come and say the same thing. And no, I'm going to hold grace. I'm going to hold space. And I wish more people would give themselves that stuff in their own coming out journeys.
Right.
space
Right.
and grace to realize how old were you? I mean, it was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago when this really started to unravel for you, man. So you're
Yeah,
in
it
your
was
late 50s
fifth.
then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What's happening for Mark at 57, 58, me at 36, John at 27? It's all the same sort of stuff,
Yes.
but give yourself the grace. I remember one of my youngest clients at the time. I got to see him just a few weeks ago when we were in New York City. I want to say he was probably 22 or 23. And he was working through this. He had been engaged to a girl and then broke off the engagement. He's like, I'm just so far behind. Of course, I wouldn't say, bitch.
You think you're far behind.
You're not
Right,
even
yeah.
close to
Yeah,
being far.
exactly. Yeah.
But in that day and age, when kids are coming out at 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, the pressure was on him.
Yeah.
So what is some of the things, I know that's probably come up for you. What are some of the things that you work through in your own beautiful way about I'm late to the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love what you said about giving yourself the grace, because there have been so many times throughout this journey where it's easy to what comes up, and the other point, no matter when you come out, and I do think it's easier for younger generation than it used to be,
Yep.
although
Yep.
maybe not in the current environment as much as it might have been. It's still hard because you are still doing something that is not part of what society expects, or right. And look, I've also been very lucky. I live in the New York City area where I'm surrounded by very progressive, open environment. If
Yep.
you're in other areas, it can be even more difficult. But I think for me, along the way of that journey of kind of like figuring it out, it's again allowing yourself that grace to be able to say, I don't know all the answers, to be in that, oh my God, what do I do next? What does this mean? And also to not be afraid in some ways to say, I'm got to put myself out there. And that could be anything. And I don't mean just about, going and hooking up and whatever. I mean, but there was something that shifted, for me, that once I was able to say, this is who I am, that I felt more comfortable saying, you know what, I'm just going to go walk into a gay bar by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let alone a gay bar before, I wouldn't have done that on my, like, not even a gay bar, just into a bar by myself. I can't do that.
Right.
And recognizing that, hey, wait a minute, it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. And saying, hey, if there's also something I'm not comfortable with, that's okay too.
Right. Yep.
And the one of the best things, we were my wife and I, after I came out, we were seeing a couples counselor. And actually, now that we are separated, we actually still see the couples counselor. Not as often as we did, sure. But she's really helped us, forge, okay, what does our relationship still look like? We're still a part of each other's lives. But she said to us from the get-go, take things slow. And I think in hindsight, from the moment I came out, we probably both knew where we would end up.
Mm-hmm.
But it enabled us to learn together. It enabled me to learn about myself. So I think that's one of the key things I've learned along the way is take it one day at a time, one thing at a time. And if it's a bad day, all right, there's tomorrow.
Yes.
And you got to just keep going.
It's an interesting observation you have there, because this again is what worked for Mark. Some people aren't going to have the privilege of taking it slow because their spouse is going to be so pissed off, like, get the fuck out. I don't want to see.
That is true.
Now, however, I'm going to invite anybody listening to this. I would still invite you, okay, even if that's happening, in your own mind, take it slow. Yes, there's a lot of stuff transpiring. I mean, I was out of the house within like 48 hours. But then we came back together because she needed the time to like kind of process a little bit. We tried to make it work. Like, okay, you're going to live here. I'm going to live here. You know, all the stuff that you try to do. But each step that we did kind of slow and take a pause, we were still in momentum. But the more we slowed down and thought through things was probably the reason we were able to separate as well as we did.
Yeah.
Still was hard. They're going to say it wasn't. I want everybody to figure this piece out because in the heat of the moment is when some of the worst decisions get made.
Yep.
In the bliss of the slowing down, you can hear each other. You can see each other. You can be empathetic to each other. There's so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And too often, when we can't do any of that, then we go, this is a shit show. Of course it's a shit show.
Yeah.
And when you go into a couples counselor, this is one of the things I have said in every situation that I have coached somebody. If the spouse is open to it, I recommend you may be working with me as your coach, but as this all starts to come through that next space, you need a couples counselor to help you unravel what was and redesign what will be.
That's right. Exactly. And one of the best things that she said to us, it hurt, and it especially hurt my wife at the time. She said to us the very first time we saw her, your marriage as you knew it is over. The other thing that we came to see was because, and again, I know, right? It's like my situation is not everybody's situation. I've been very lucky in that we still care about each other. We enjoy each other's company. There's just this one tiny hitch. I'm gay, so
Right.
It makes it a little bit difficult. But we said, you know what? So it doesn't have to be the end of our relationship. What it is about redefining what that is. And
Exactly.
and I think and if you're able to take that time, no matter what that's going to look like, if you're dealing with kids, and I think this is the other thing too, that does make it harder in some ways when you're coming out later in life and you've got kids and all that stuff, it affects so many other people's lives. The other thing I know that hit hard for me, and I've heard this from so many other men that have been in similar situations that I talk to, it's the guilt.
Yes.
It's the guilt. I remember distinctly the day I sat my wife down and told her, honey, I'm gay. I knew I was throwing a hand grenade into our life, into her life especially. She wasn't asking for any of this.
Right.
But what I've also learned and I continue to work on is that doesn't mean that I am wrong and bear guilt because of who I am and the need to live my life as who I am. And it's about balancing that and finding the space to have the empathy for what she's going through, but to say, hey, you know what? I've lived a life of being a people pleaser. And
Right.
I know so many of us fight that. And I know you've talked a lot about that. It's like, I continue to work on that every single day.
That is one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle. This is I talk a lot. I know you've heard me say that. I think I probably even brought it up when we were talking about you coaching with me. These are the pebbles in the shoe that take a long, long, long time to go away.
Yeah. And it may never go away. But I think the difference is
not.
I now know when that's starting to hit me and I can say, okay, wait a minute, Mark, take a pause.
Yes.
Take a deep breath, take a step back. Again, kind of take it slow.
What's interesting is there's kind of two different stories going on here. I know I haven't really opened up about it because most of the guys that listen to this have heard this, but you have what I would consider a working friendship relationship with your ex. Me on the other extreme, I have an acknowledgement. We don't have a relationship. I can't even, other than a year ago at our daughter's wedding, as I said, my daughter's wedding, screw up there, our daughter's wedding. We had a brief conversation or two. And here's the thing, I don't feel guilty about that at this stage. We have moved into a space where we acknowledge each other. We know, we can't deny that each other exists until we don't exist, so to speak. But it's not going to help anything to continue to be headbutts.
Right.
There was a lot of years that and there were a lot of years that we weren't headbutts. But at the end of the day, and maybe it's because I grow older and wiser, I'm almost 62. Where does that get us?
Right.
Where does, you said something really beautiful at the very beginning of this conversation about energy. Oh my God, if I could bottle all the energy of being pissed off at people and like, you just need to get me, you need to understand. If I had that all bottled up, I would probably if I could drink it all now, I'd probably look like I'm 20 years old, because that energy would be so fulfilling to all the anxiety, depression, worry that I put my body through. Mm-hmm. And I know many guys that have been through this, and some of you that might be listening. I don't think Mark and I either one are going to say there's anything easy about this. But when we layer on the anxiety, the trying to figure it all out, the trying to get it done quickly, the rushing forward, okay, and there's a lot of codependence that happens in these kind of relationships. Let's just go there, because you've been with somebody for so long.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, so it may not be deep codependence, but a lot of time it is, because there's a certain lifestyle. Many people in these situations, the spouse has not worked. There's been nothing but raising the family, being the family. And I'm not saying they didn't work, because that's work. Let's just be honest about that. But suddenly the collision is they don't have any identity, because, oh, wait, I've been wife, mother, wife, mother. Who the hell am I now? I've seen it on the flip side too. When a woman comes out, the guy's like, well, who the hell am I now? Right. But the energy that gets in all of that is such a strain on the system, strain on our psyche. It's no wonder that people resort to extreme sexual behaviors, drinking, drugs, depression. Sure. And this is why I think it's so important to hear things like what we're talking about today. I'm never going to say my life is 100% freaking perfect. But if I were to roll back today to then, this is like a freaking miracle, man. This is like a cakewalk. There's different things now, as I'm aging, the newest things that are coming up for me is like, okay, what does happen in 10, 15, 20 years when we're old enough to go, hey, where are we going to live in a retirement center? What if they are homophobic? I have been with that man. I mean, next year we'll be 25 years together.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And it's not any different than how long were you and your wife together?
30 years.
Right. So you get it.
Yeah.
Like there's these things that we don't even think about. And I'm hoping from what we've shared today that even if you've never been married and you've never come out in a heterosexual relationship, and I know you shared, and we won't go too deep in it, but you shared about a good friend of yours going through a divorce from a husband. Mm-hmm. So much of what happens and things that Mark and I have shared today, it doesn't matter if it's a gay marriage or a straight marriage.
That's right.
The same stuff is going to come up. The same stuff is going to come up. And how you manage through it, having a coach, having a really good therapist, having a good counselor, don't think you can do it on your own.
Oh my God.
Some think they can. I'm not going to say you can't. But man, the energy you will conserve, the mindsets that you will come out of that with, if you've got it done really well, will change everything for you. Everything.
That is so true. I mean, Rick, you and I connected fairly early on in my journey. That was, incredible connection. Just, finding, listening to your podcast through, for myself, I found this group, Gay Fathers Worldwide, where I've made so many good friends of other men going through, again, everybody's journey is different, but similar situation coming out later in life. I don't think I could be where I am now. And I'm not trying to say I've got it all figured out, but the progress I've made in living my life without all that support system, that truly has been life.
But that's the thing.
Me.
The support systems, I think, are the key element here, is to realize you're going to find your own support system. Mark told me about gay men, gay fathers worldwide before we came on there. I'm like, oh, I've never heard of that one. I know about gays with kids and all that sort of stuff. I also know about what's the other one? Gay men. It's gay men gay men with wives.
Yeah. Well, there's also husbands out to wives.
Husbands out to wives. Yeah.
There's also Gamma is another group.
Is another one.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. There's so many flavors of how you get support. I would just invite everybody to think about that.
Yeah.
I actually believe in this one. I'd have to go figure it out. I actually think there's a group about gay divorced men, like gay married gay men now divorced. There's a whole group. There's a whole gay widowers group that a lot of my friends are in, which, okay, that tells me how, you don't have to be old to have a widow, but these things are so important to our journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that you came and you shared. What's your podcast? Because I know you and who's your cohort there?
So really my co-host, Brian Janes, we co-host the podcast called Coming Inside Out. Mm-hmm. And it, our primary focus is talking about our journeys, guys coming out later in life, having kids, but we're really finding it's been interesting because some of the feedback, some of the emails, comments that we get, not all. I mean, we've got some younger guys that have been listening, but really the focus is kind of sharing some of the challenges we face, everything from what's it like to go out and start dating at this point in your life, and how do you figure out, are you a top? Are you a bottom? Are you verse? What are you? That's a
whole
right?
show in and of itself.
Oh my God.
That's a whole show. I tell you what, that has been one of the biggest journeys in itself, like figuring it out. And then, so 20 some odd years ago, and now who I am sexually now versus who I was when I came out, big difference.
Yeah.
What I enjoy doing, what I don't enjoy doing. I mean, okay, cute, young, hot guy with a great ass. Okay, I'll do my best. I'll do my best to pound that thing. But there are times I'm like, the ones who are like, just fuck me, daddy. I'm like, well,
yeah.
Okay, well, daddy would like that, but you're going to get one round if you're lucky today, But it is. There's so many interesting journeys. And I love that you came to share. I truly appreciate you, man, and love the candor, the honesty, because so many guys think, oh, I'm the only one.
No, and that's it. You're not. Mm-hmm. And
okay, so if somebody wanted to find, I'm assuming they just go to any podcast outlet to find.
Absolutely, yeah. We're on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any podcast app you can find us. Coming Inside Out. Cool. We encourage you to check it out. Yeah,
awesome. And guys, thank you for being part of our world and listening. We're going to do a little more frequency on this because I'm getting some guys saying, hey, you used to talk about coming out stuff. I'm like, yes, that's when I had Life Uncloseted. I had a whole other podcast about that, but there's a surge. And even in these crazy times, guys, there are guys that are like, if I don't do it now, it's never going to happen. And it's in fact, some of the crazy times is actually driving certain guys. I just did some complimentary sessions with a couple of guys like, why I'm saying I want to do this now? Because I want to join the movement. I want to join the movement against this bullshit. And I'm like, high five. I wanted to give him a hug, but it's hard to do that through Zoom. I've tried. I've broken a few computers doing that. Anyway, well, thanks, Mark, so much for being here, man. And thank you all for being listeners. Keep doing what you're doing out there in the world and listen to my podcast, listen to Mark's podcast, other podcasts. There's so many really amazing podcasts. Gay Men's Brotherhood is another one. I think that's one. Gay Men Going Deeper. I love their stuff as well. We're all a community here for you. And again, man, I really appreciate you being here and sharing yourself today.
Well, thanks. This is great. Appreciate it, Rick.
That's a wrap for 40 Plus. Gay men, gay talk, where size doesn't matter. We drop our bullshit, get over our screwed up fears, make bold moves, and live life without apologies. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at 40 Plus, Gay Men, Gay Talk, where the conversations continue.